Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sherry.
And together, we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to the Traveling Professors. This is show number 68, where Sherry and I will be finishing up our tour of the city of Rhodes. We're going to be taking a walking tour of the new hospital of the Knights of Rhodes, which today has become one of the great museums of the city. The museum is located in this particular area right here. So we just simply walked from our apartment, our hotel we were staying at, to this point, went in the museum and then did some shopping before returning back to our hotel room to pack for our next journey, which is to head to the city of Herculon on the island of Crete. Here we are at the entrance to the new Hospital of the Knights. Now, the new Hospital of the Knights is one of the most grandiose and best preserved buildings in medieval Rhodes. It's on what is now called Museum Square near the commercial port, and it houses the Archaeological Museum of Rhodes. Its restoration started in 1440 by the Grand Master de Lastic, who inherited for this purpose 10,000 florins from his predecessor, the Grand Master Fulviana. The work was completed in 1489 when Dubuisson became the Grand Master, and today it houses all sorts of really interesting artwork. When you walk into the center courtyard, the architectural style of the hospital follows the style of the inns and the caravanserais of the East, as well as Byzantine monasteries and hotels. And the common characteristic of all these buildings is a central rectangular courtyard that's surrounded by a two-story covered gallery. And you'll have kitchens and all sorts of storage and different things which make great buildings for museums. Looking at the far end of the entrance as we come in, you see this, the statue of a lion tearing a bull into pieces, which is a work of late Hellenistic art. And the cannonballs that you see scattered around, they're not from the time period of Suleiman. They're from the time period of Demetrius, the city besieger, from 305 BCE. So it's quite an interesting area. They've got all sorts of stuff laying around. There's a look at the area in front of the lion statue, where they have a mosaic. Then looking back to where we came in, there's the steps that we'll be taking to go up to the second level. And then going down some of the galleries around the courtyard, they have all sorts of different pieces of blocks and sculpture. And then in one area, they have a whole section of these sarcophagi. So that's the bottom section as you enter in to the hospital. So let's head on up the steps. After climbing up the steps, we turned around here, and there's a nice view of the courtyard from the steps angle. And so now we're going down another gallery, and you see the portal off to the right-hand side. Here we are a little closer. This is the entrance. This is the entrance to the Grand Hall of the hospital. And here we are in the Grand Hall. Now let me explain some things about the hospital itself. Now, most of the time when you have hospitals built by the Hospitallers and other groups for pilgrims, what you will find is that a hall like this will hold pilgrims traveling like a hostel would, and would also hold sick people. Now, this particular building is a little bit different because the new hospital of the Knights of Rhodes was actually built exclusively for the sick and did not include pilgrims. Now, if you were a sick pilgrim, that would be okay. Now, there's a whole process of this. The physicians at the hospital would visit the patients twice a day, and every morning a chaplain would celebrate Mass. Now, as a patient, when you entered the hospital, you were obliged to go to confession and receive Holy Communion, and then write their will in the presence of a chaplain and a scribe of the hospital. Needless to say, that's not a very positive sign, but it is the Middle Ages. So here you have this nice view down one section, and we'll be looking at some of the art that they have in here, and then turning around to view down the other section. So you see this great hall takes up one whole section of that courtyard on the second floor. So it's quite extensive. Now there's all sorts of displays throughout the great hall, but here are a few of the items that really caught Sherry and I's attention. This one is a Knights of the Hospital slab tomb from 1350. And then here we have an ancient sarcophagus that was used for burial in 1355. Now this is the Grand Master Pierre de Cornillon. However, the cover of it is plaster. It's a replica. The original cover is in one of the museums in Paris. Now, this tombstone is an Aragonese knight named Pietro de Hederia. And then we have an English knight's tombstone, Thomas Newport, from 1502. Then we have a nice view of the floor of the hall, which is pretty extensive. And then we have our Lion of St. Mark coat of arms, and that is from the Grisby family of Venice from the 1400s. And then we come to the coat of arms of England, which has the French coat of arms mixed in with the English coat of arms. It's the 100 Years' War period. And of course, then there's a tomb slab of a French knight, Renier Pot, from 1498, which has one of those death skulls on it. Coming out of the doorway of the Great Hall, we're looking across, and we're going to be walking to the other side, and that houses some of the ancient work of the Museum of Rhodes. So here we are entering into the room, and you have this beautiful Greek pottery, these different types of blackware. Look at this one with the painting on it, the white covered top. There's a beautiful one with the lady's head, and the artwork is just stunning on these. And then here we have a two-handed bowl where you have your creature painted in the bottom, so you have something to look at. And then here we have several like satyrs chasing each other, and then again two more of these two-handed pieces of pottery, which are just absolutely stunning. There's all different types. There was all sorts of small goddesses and other things. Then we went into another room, and it had some of the larger statuary. Now this one is known as the Kneeling Venus. This comes from the 1st century BCE. So you can see the front side and the back side. And then this worn one is Venus of the Sea, and that is from the 4th century BCE. And the head here, this is Helios, one of the major gods of the city of Rhodes. That's from 100 to 160 BCE. And then here we have what is known as the Hecateon. Now this is actually 3 sides. This is a tripod, and there would have been a cauldron on the very top of it. So there's one side of it, there's the other side, and then here is the 3rd side. So you have these creatures on each of the 3 corners. And then you have these 2 statues. The man is Asclepius, the god of healing, and next to him is his daughter, Hygienia, where we get the word hygiene from. So that was the main pieces of the upper part. They had a coin collection, they had some swords, they had all sorts of different ancient ware. Now we're going to go back downstairs and then go out into another section where they have a garden and other buildings to visit, including one of the Ottoman buildings. Now out in the courtyard, out in the territory out where the garden is, there's quite a bit of, again, bits and pieces. So here's the view as you start coming out of the main building. And then we start walking around the edges, and here you see 2 plinths or having a nice statue put on it. And then here is a very unusual monument with a warrior with a snake wrapped around him. And then in the center, there's a section where you can go down the stairs, and they have storage for artillery. And then they have a little shrine in one of the corners, and some of the mosaics area. This is a close-up of the mosaic. Here's the full mosaic, which actually is in front of the little altar there. And then here's a view again of the little shrine. And then you turn around, and there's several other buildings. You can see the little shrine in the background here with Sherry, and she's looking at one of the lions. And here's a close-up of the lion. And then we have one of my favorite pieces of Hellenistic art, and that's the porpoise. You can see directly behind me another flight of stairs and some flowers. Well, that goes up to the garden area and to the buildings associated with the Ottoman Turks. Now I head up into the garden area up these steps. And the garden has Islamic themes, and there's a couple of rooms that were used by the Ottoman Turks. And then there is an area where they have mosaics on the walls in the garden area. And I think at certain times of the year they also have food that's available for purchase out here, but it wasn't there when we visited the little garden area. And there's one of the entrances to one of the buildings associated with the Ottomans, the nice little water fountain, and of course the beautiful ceiling in that particular entry area. And then a view out from that entry area out onto the garden region, and of course where the hospital museum is located. And as you walk around, that this magnificent flowers. Of course, Sherry's just crazy because she loves gardening and what have you. And they have this beautiful water feature, and you can see the fish in there. And later on, we had what I refer to as the mayor of the palace, one of the cats eyeing those fish, trying to figure out a way if they can get to them, or at least get a nice drink of water. Then we headed along a little further and entered into this area where we have trees and places to sit down and rest. And this is where we come on the wall mosaics. So here we have one of them with the winged goddess. And then we have a centaur with a rabbit. Looks like a winged griffin. And then, of course, we have the battle between mounted warrior and a lion. And then we go down this path to this other building, which again has another fountain. And then inside of it, they have all of the Ottoman trappings. So here's a little sitting area. We've been to Istanbul. We'll eventually take you to Istanbul as well, but we've been to the Topkapi Palace, and we're in Istanbul for something like a week. So the different rooms will have different setups for seating, and there's beautiful windows. And this room has a really beautiful carved ceiling. And here's a close-up of that carved ceiling. And these would have been rooms for meetings, for get-togethers. Obviously, the local leader would have used these for political purposes as well. Here's a longer room where you can have your meeting area down at one end and other activities going on at the front end. And there's the exit. As we exit out here, we then go back the way we came. Go through the building again where the courtyard was located, and then out into the regular city of Rhodes, where we're going to go and pick up some tourist items. Sherry will end up buying this beautiful scarf after about 20 minutes of negotiation. Sherry and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.